Y'all see those Trey Lance videos? Six Letter says, let's get down to the juicy Lance practice squad videos. Sway says, the throws? Yes, Lance leaks, John. Javier Vega on the internet with a variety of Trey Lance practice video throws on Twitter. They blew up, made it all the way to Bleacher Report, and so I'm sure
he
now
catch that?
millions of views.
A little behind.
Which
is that River Craycraft?
Miami Dolphins. You're talking about this throw here?
I think he might drop this, but that was a dime.
Yeah, it's hard to see. We don't get the video all the way through the completion of the catch.
That was a little Mahomes, but that was behind him.
Yeah.
That look a little Mahomesy right there, going to the left.
A little Mahomesy. Yeah, a lot of these are going to the left. Remember, going to the left are the Trey Lance highlights. Going to the left was the Trey Lance highlight in his pro day. Going to his left was the Trey Lance highlight when we saw him at camp. Going to his left, I thought one of his best throws this year was going to his left, although the deep ball to Debo got a lot of attention too. But those videos what do those videos mean, John? What do these mean to us? And I think part of the reason Javier, the context of this for people who don't follow the Niners or Trey Lance, the context of this right now is the debate kind of started with Joe Montana at the Super Bowl, which is Trey Lance ready? So I think that's part of the backdrop of why these videos are relevant today.
To me, these videos do nothing for me. And I'm not trying to poo-poo and make that they're not fun, because anytime watching guys with elite talent at whatever they're doing, right? There was a Mike Trout video recently that went viral of just him hitting in a batting cage, and it was like, God damn, this guy's got fucking power.
Part of that video was somebody said, my friend needs some help with his swing. Any tips? And people not realizing it was Mike Trout were like, yeah, he drops his shoulder too much.
But it happens with Bryce Harper. It happens in the offseason in the NBA when a dude's working, and you're just like, damn, this guy doesn't miss. In football, when you have an enormous arm and you're athletic, practice videos look awesome. They look sweet. Do you know what doesn't have that much in common with an NFL game? What we're witnessing right there. That to me is like less than Pro Bowl level movement. That doesn't, like, part of the reason they drafted him number 3 overall, the reason it was so controversial, it was like, you got to take him or Fields over this Mac Jones guy, right? Because what they possess, these physical attributes, are what you need to mold. And then we watched him play, and he needs a lot of work. And there's nothing wrong with that. Any quarterback worth their salt at 21, 22 years old that hasn't played needs a lot of work. But to me, this shows, now, obviously you and I have been to practice before in training camp and in OTA, so we had seen his physical attributes. So I get it if you are an insurance salesman and the only time you've ever seen him play with those 2 games, it's cool. I'm not disputing that it looks good. It should look good, right? I mean, he has elite physical attributes, but part of it is like checking out of runs when they have too many guys in the box, understanding where the defense is, being accurate on what Chris Ballard shit on Carson Wentz for, the layup throws. Like, you need to hit layups. Like, it's all that type of stuff that he's just going to have to rep it out through training camp live. Like, to me, training camp, when you're live, is a much quicker pace than that. And definitely the preseason games will be good reps for him, and obviously then just building on the regular season games. But to me, that, like, they traded 3 number 1 picks for an elite talent, the physical attributes, and that's what he's got. He's got some elite physical attributes.
Yeah, it like I said, it comes at a time when there's a debate about if he's ready, and I think the answer to that, here's what I love about the is he ready thing, which we'll be talking about for months. The answer to that question is yes and no. Not to do the old pillow sit, John, and take 2 sides of one story. But the answer is no. He's not ready to, like...
You got splinters in your ass right now from sitting on the fence.
Yeah, you'd make a good radio PD, Middlecoff. That's an old JB one. But, of course, he's not ready to be Patrick Mahomes, but he is ready to play and then take on some of the development that comes with playing. If we went and got an anonymous straw poll or anonymous poll of all the 49ers players and said, all right, guys, is Trey Lance ready? I think we'd have several players say no. I think we'd have a bunch of players say yes. And I think here's what if we sat down with the no's and did a focus group, like, well, what does this mean? They'd say, well, he doesn't know the plays as well as I know them. He doesn't know the plays as well as Jimmy Garoppolo knows them. He doesn't know what to do in all of these things when all these things happen during a game that are not part of what you learn in practice. You just have to figure it out on the fly, right? Things we've talked about. Garoppolo's done a few times. Pre-snap, there wasn't a motion. Juszczyk yells at a guy. Jimmy snaps it anyway. What do we do, right? So I think the answer can reasonably be yes. It is time for him to play so that he can be ready to be what they drafted him to be. That, I think, is the simplest way to do it. And I think part of what they need him to be, what they want him to be, is the guy that makes these sweet plays in practice, which, by the way, we've seen some of them in person. We saw some of them in the games. We all saw some of them in the games. And I think the games were a great example of where his ceiling is and the fact that there are still things to learn, still things to get better at. But I think we can agree he needs to play. He's reached the point where he needs to play in order to really figure some of that stuff out. Because all this practice stuff's all well and good. If you're doing this stuff for 3 years, no one's ever hitting you, then how are you really getting better? Forget about the fact that the real bullets in terms of just the speed of the game, the play clock's going, the play clock's going, the play clock's going.
Well, one thing he's going to bring to the table that Jimmy Garoppolo did not bring to the table is the stuff outside the context of the play, like Cousins can't do, right? Jimmy can't really do, even though he's a better athlete than Cousins as he tried, and they've led to picks when he rolls out, is the roll out shit and throw deep bombs. That is something Mahomes and Allen have really made a career off doing. But they're able to do that because they do all the basic stuff well. And that, to me, is where, he's going to have to do the basic stuff well, and that's just, we won't know until he continues to rep through that and play it, right? Because to me, if he does the basic stuff well, he's accurate on slants, he's accurate, on the quick outs, he knows defenses when to check in and out of with the help of his coaching staff and the guys on the field. The extra added stuff is why he can become a really good player. But you have to do the basic stuff well, which in the history of football, a lot of guys struggle with the basic stuff, right? It's why we don't have that many good quarterbacks. That's why most quarterbacks are very inconsistent with the basic shit. It's why Carson Wentz has kind of fallen off a cliff. It's not because he can't throw a sweet ball 80 yards down the field. It's because on just a basic out route, he might airmail you or skip it or throw a pick on a in-breaking route because he reads the wrong coverage.
Yeah.
That is the stuff that until he really plays, you just will not know.
And I think the truth is we spend so much time talking about the very, very top of trying to find the Mahomes to Josh Allen. The fact is there's not that many guys that can do the basic stuff and have the minimum physical requirements, right? Like Jimmy Garoppolo is a positive outlier in that he can do the basic stuff and he has the minimum physical requirements. Like his arm is strong enough. It's not as strong as you'd want it to be. He's not as dynamic as you'd want. He's not what you drafted number 3. Trey Lance has the potential to be that. But the fact is there's not 30 guys who have the physical basics and can do the other stuff well enough. There's not 30 of them on earth. Forget about 20 of them or 15 of them that can do it like at the high level, right? The quarterback tier thing is always interesting because there's all these tiers. And really, each tier breaks down into like, what, at most 4 guys?
Yeah, sometimes the top 2 have, 9 or 10 max.
There's not that many tiers, and there's not that many guys on each tier. And what you're trying to do is find the best of the best. Jordan on the stream says, you guys both said we haven't heard any whispers about Trey looking good in practice. Well, here you go. We say a lot of stuff, so if you can, I don't think that's been part of our discussion though. Although,
no, we had said that it's a little weird that it hadn't been leaking out through the season, and now it kind of has when people start shitting on him.
But Kyle did say at the end of the year he was good, remember?
Yeah, and Fred Warner and other guys had said
it.
I think my conspiracy theory was that they knew Jimmy was injured, not going to be able to play, so he kind of went to one of his main leaders that, like, you wouldn't expect Fred to say that, and he kind of went out of nowhere. But ultimately, this guy, here is, when you just look at from a physical trait standpoint, Jimmy Garoppolo, I'll even throw like Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, who, put up better stats than Jimmy. All those guys are in that tier of like 10 to like 16. They kind of go back and forth in that area. All those guys' big downfalls are that they're hit or miss with the basic stuff. Jimmy's hit or miss with the basic stuff. Dak down the stretch of the season was like, he just wasn't hitting basic routes. Well, then they actually don't bring the I can roll out, make a guy miss, throw it 50 yards down the field. So they don't even have that. So
right.
if you're Trey Lance and you can just be Jimmy at the basic stuff, which is average, and then also bring the added element of being explosive, like that to me is like where Stafford is. He's probably better at the basic stuff, but it's the added explosive shit. So when you add that element, it's like, holy shit. It's like if you're a good shooter, but you're a marginal athlete, you can only be so good in the NBA. Well, if you're a good shooter and you're an exceptional athlete, it's like, holy shit, good luck.
Or you're an
Kevin
exceptional
Durant.
athlete and a marginal shooter.
Exactly.
That can work.
You can, but you eventually hit a ceiling, right?
Well, you have to be able to do something else. If you play great defense because you're an exceptional athlete and are a marginal shooter, that can work, right? But quarterback, you don't get to play defense.
I think part of why Lamar took a huge step is he became a pretty accurate quarterback.
Yeah.